Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, the whole world. Welcome to International Women's Day seminar hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. This is the International Women's Day webinar, year 2024, hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. It's going to be an awesome time here this morning. And today we will be engaging in intelligent discourse with the theme Empowering Women, Transforming Lives, Financial Inclusion for a Sustainable Africa. I have the pleasure of welcoming you on this webinar this morning. My name is Esther Adiola Balogun, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Welcome with me, the guest, the guest speaker, the main speaker for this event, Professor Olayinka David West, the Associate Dean of the Lagos Business School. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to you all at this remarkable event celebrating International Women's Day, hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. Today we gather under the theme, Inspire Inclusion, Empowering Women, Transforming Lives through Financial Inclusion for a Sustainable Africa. The theme encapsulates our shared commitment to not only empower women, but also inspire a culture of inclusivity that drives positive change across the continent. International Women's Day is not just a day of celebration, it is a day of reflection and commitment towards gender equality and women's empowerment. It is a day to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of women across the globe and to renew our pledge to create a world where every woman has the opportunity to thrive, contribute, and lead. In Africa, women have always been the backbone of communities, economies, and families. Yet they continue to face numerous challenges, particularly when it comes to accessing financial services and resources. Despite their crucial roles, women are often marginalized and excluded from the formal financial system, which limits their ability to unleash their full potential and contribute meaningfully to economic growth and development. Financial inclusion is not just about providing access to financial services. It is about empowering individuals, families, and communities to build better lives and secure brighter futures. It is about ensuring that no one is left behind, regardless of gender, socioeconomic status, or geographic location. And at the heart of financial inclusion lies the empowerment of women. When women are financially included, the entire community benefits. Studies have shown that when women have control over financial resources, they invest in their families, health, education, and well-being, leading to improved outcomes for future generations. By empowering women economically, we not only uplift them, but also create a ripple effect of positive change that cascades throughout society. We must listen to the voices of women themselves. We must involve them in the decision-making process that affects their lives and amplify their stories and experiences and empower them to be agents of change in their communities. Because ultimately, true empowerment comes from within, and it is our collective responsibility to support and uplift each other along the journey. However, achieving meaningful financial inclusion for women requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders, from governments, financial institutions, development organizations, and the private sector. It requires innovative solutions, policies, and partnerships that address the unique needs and challenges faced by women, particularly those in underserved and marginalized communities. At the Lagos Business School, We're committed to driving this agenda forward. Through our Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative, we strive to create an enabling environment where women have equal opportunities to access and benefit from financial services. We work closely with government agencies, local communities, financial institutions, and policymakers to design tailored solutions that cater to the diverse needs of women across Nigeria. According to the findings of FINA's Access to Finance 2023 survey, formal financial inclusion in Nigeria increased from 56% in 2020 to 64% in 2023. This growth was driven by a slight rise in the banked population and significant progress in non-banked formal adoption. A key factor contributing to this success is the impact of the Framework for Advancing Women's Financial Inclusion in Nigeria, FORFIN, an initiative championed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to address women's financial inclusion. FORFIN strategically utilized agent networks for women's financial inclusion, predominantly employing women agents. These agents provided women with access to a broader array of financial services and products, including microloans, daily savings, microinsurance options. This illustrates how the implementation of an effective operational framework has the potential to transform how women manage their finances, access credit, and engage in economic activity, thereby creating opportunities for empowerment and economic independence. According to Foresight Africa 2024, Africa is currently at the forefront globally in terms of digital financial inclusion. But our work is far from over. We must continue to advocate for policies that promote gender equality, dismantle discriminatory barriers, and create pathways for women to thrive in the formal economy. As we celebrate International Women's Day today and embrace the theme of Inspire Inclusion, let us renew our dedication to envisioning a more inclusive, fair, and sustainable Africa, ensuring that we are deliberate about engaging women by recognizing their distinct requirements and designate solutions that empower, catalyze, and transform and pave the way for a future where every woman can flourish and achieve success. Together, we can inspire a culture of inclusion that transcends borders and transforms societies for the betterment of Africa. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you great deliberations today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Olayinka David West. And right about now, I'll be bringing on board the panelists for this session of the webinar. And join me as I introduce to you Caroline Kamal Molwa. Caroline is the Africa Director, Oiko Credits. Caroline is the Africa Director for Social Impact Investor and Worldwide Cooperative Oiko Credits. She's responsible for developing the organization's portfolio in 13 countries in Africa, providing leadership on the delivery of the organization's mission, social mission on the continent. Caroline has 25 years experience in banking and impact investing. She possesses expertise in relationship building and negotiating, structuring and closing on propositions that drive portfolio growth while delivering social impact. Caroline is a graduate of University of Nairobi with a major in sociology, and she has a master's degree in business psychology from the University of South Wales. She has also undertaken various other courses in leadership, corporate governance, social performance management, amongst others. Caroline, welcome to International Women's Days webinar 2024, hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. Our
Thank you
next,
very much.
you're welcome. Our next panelists will be Sharon. Morsen Herner. Sharon is an accomplished financial inclusion professional with over 16 years of experience in designing, implementing, and managing projects aimed at expanding financial services to underserved populations in Africa and Southeast Asia. Our expertise lies in developing innovative strategies, building partnerships, and leveraging technology to promote financial access and empowering, particularly for women, youth, and for agricultural SMEs. With a proven track record for driving impactful initiatives and fostering inclusive growth, Sharon is committed to advancing financial inclusion as a catalyst for socio-economic development. With her expertise, strategic vision, and passion for inclusive development, she continues to make significant contributions to the field of financial inclusion. Welcome, Sharon. It's a pleasure to have you on this webinar.
Thank you very much. It's a
You're
pleasure to be
welcome.
here.
Yeah, thank you. And so, right about now, we would be going into our panel session. And we have already listened and heard our keynote speaker, Professor Lainka David West. And she has also spoken about the landscape, the current landscape, some of the achievements that we have made in Africa as regards financial inclusion. And so my question, the first question I would like to ask is for you, Caroline. So can you just, tell us, what achievements do you think we have attained in Africa today, in the recent years as regards financial inclusion? What did you think are some of the achievements? Professor Inka David West mentioned that, today in Nigeria, we have achieved about 60%, of our target on financial inclusion. But looking at it in Africa today, what do you think we have achieved? And how have we gone this far? How far have we gone in Africa as regards financial inclusion and empowering women in Africa? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. And that's a very pertinent question coming out of the discussion that we've just had with Dr. Olayinka. And indeed, there have been lots of improvements in the last years. I would say some of the most profound ones are one that the Africa Union has declared this decade, the decade of the African woman. So just that recognition that there is need to focus on women and women empowerment is a very critical development. We are also seeing more and more participation of women in parliament and in government and in policy issues. And of course, we know that when we have women in decision-making positions, then we are hopeful of having very profound changes in the economic landscape of any country. Changes also have been seen in terms of the level of education for girls and women. If you consider 10 years ago and now, there's been an improvement in the girl child education and women empowerment. So lots of changes. Another change that I can speak to is the 2 times challenge that I think was established in 2018, where development finance institutions were challenged to raise money specifically to go into women empowerment and financial inclusion. So these are some of the initiatives that I see that are making a difference on our continent. However, the gap is still very, very huge. In Africa, there's a $42 billion gap for financing to women. So the changes that are taking place, I think, are slow. It's good progress, but we are taking very small steps towards improving the situation for women empowerment. And there is also no parity from one country to the other. So you find that some countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, they are making bigger strides, while other countries in Africa are being left behind. So the situation is improving, but there is still a lot to be done, Esther.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much for that insightful contribution. And I agree with you that there's still a lot to be done. Maybe Sharon would help with some of the barriers that she thinks have, slowed down the growth of financial inclusion. Caroline has mentioned some of the initiatives that has taken place in Africa today, but we all agree that it could be better. We are not where we're supposed to be when it comes to financial inclusion, empowering women and transforming lives. And just like Professor Lainka David West mentioned, she said that when you empower a woman, you transform a whole family, a whole nation. So what are the barriers that you have seen, Sharon, that you think has impeded the growth of financial inclusion in Africa? Maybe just one or two you want to mention. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Esther. Thank you, Caroline. I think Caroline just painted a very good picture on where we are, what has been achieved so far, and something I just want to add very quickly. When you look at the data from Findex for 2021, the gender gap, the gender financial gap is reducing in the developed countries or developed economies. But when you look at developing economics like Africa, the gap persists. And I think one of the things that I will answer that question, the barriers, is it comes down to understanding what inclusion really means. Because even the data that we have that, okay, the gap has, between 2017 and 2021, for example, the gap has reduced from 9% to 6% in developing economies like ours. What does that actually mean? Because when we're looking at this data, in most cases we're just looking at access to bank accounts, right? So if someone has a bank account, we consider them, they are financially included. However, I think we need to look behind that number and say, okay, so if you have, how included are you? Right? So having a bank account is the first step, but how included are you? Do you have access to other products that is being offered within the financial institution? And I think the key barrier then there for women is education, education around available financial products offered by especially commercial banks. And I think the onus is also on financial institutions to really bring these financial products to the women in a way that is understandable to them. So key among it is, as I said, education on the products that are available to them, including insurance, because as I said, all this data is focusing on having a bank account, but access to insurance is not part of it. What do we do so that we make sure even the women that have bank accounts are fully banked, as opposed to they're just merely, at the entry level? So that is one. The other, of course, is, cultural, right? I mean, our continent is rich in culture. We are, our culture is very, we grow up in our cultural environments where certain things are not are good, but can be impediment to access to finance. So, for example, things to do with ownership of property, and we know especially for commercial banks, to access facilities. Once you have an account, you need to access a facility, be it borrowing. For most of them, it's really comes down to collateral. And I think there's been a lot of initiatives around, access to finance, both for all genders, but particularly for women, with with less collateral or no collateral at all. But of course, as they then touches on a regulatory environment where for most central banks, provisioning then becomes a problem, because if you don't provide collateral, then there's implication on your provisioning. So, I mean, barriers, education, cultural, the cultural norms that exist that are impediment to access to finance. Enabling environment is also something that many institutions or many governments are working on, but there's a lot to be done on that as well. So those are the three key things I can say now. But of course, I mean, when you look at the offering of financial services as well from the supply side, they are not gendered in a way. So women access financial products, I would say by default. Well, there's an increasing number of financial institutions really pushing for this through the initiatives like a firewall giving 75% guarantees, initiatives like my own organization, ACCION, where we, incentivize and give what we call impact facilitation for institutions lending to women. It's not nearly sufficient, and yeah, we still have a long way to go. Over to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Before I let you go on this question, how do you think we could use digital innovation or technology to drive or to solve this? I mean, to create a solution to these barriers you've mentioned. So, how do you think we could use digital innovation? I'm also aware that digital innovation could also help drive, you know, financial inclusion. So, how do we use digital innovation to solve some of these problems or some of these challenges you have mentioned?
Yeah. Thank you, Esther. I mean, it's very, I'm glad you bring that up because the percentages I was just mentioning earlier is really driven by technology. So when, for example, in Kenya, the increase in access to finance, which again, it's really measured on the number of accounts that or access to a bank account or a mobile wallet. So when you see this growth in the last couple of years, it's really been driven by technology. So mobile money and technology plays a key role for many populations across Africa, and especially in economies where mobile money is widespread, like Kenya and Nigeria and also other countries across the region. Mobile money has played a very key role in access to finance. And the good thing, I mean, the innovations have been brilliant in the last decade. Initially, as mobile money was just for remittances between individuals, but all this has changed in the last couple of years, and now we have digital lending platforms within the mobile money platform, and banks and other financial institutions embracing this has really driven access to or the outreach to financial inclusion. However, we also know that digital literacy for women's digital literacy is lagging behind that of men. So whereas we see this exponential growth in access to finance through mobile wallets, women still require a lot of digital literacy to be to use some of the sophisticated or simple, if you will, features when it comes to mobile money, because besides sending money and receiving money, the actual banking is growing. And it's a good development. A lot of fintechs we've seen in the market that has driven the financial inclusion. So definitely, yeah, we won't be here. We won't be talking of the numbers that we are talking about, or the percentages of reduction by 3% between 2017 and 2021, for example, if it were not for digital innovation. And how do we then leverage this? How do we move beyond just access to these basic financial services? And I think innovation is ongoing, and it's quite important to see that it's exciting to see that banks and financial institutions have really embraced this part of technology. And the other technological innovations that would really help us to drive financial inclusion is also moving away from this heavily reliant physical collateral. And some of the technological tools available, for example, is using cash flow management tools to assess profiles for access to credit. And I think that one, as we know, women, there's a lot of data about women perform better in terms of the credit portfolio held by women perform relatively better. And I think that can then be translated to the mainstream commercial institutions as opposed to just residing with microfinance institutions, for example, or social impact lenders. So these innovations, as I said, linking and really mapping out a cash flow for customers within the financial sector, so that in that it's in lieu, you use cash flow in lieu of collateral, would really unlock some of these barriers that we see when it comes to access to finance. Over to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Carol, I want to come to you on collaboration and partnerships for driving financial inclusion and transforming, empowerment, women empowerment, as regards to financial inclusion. Do you have, with the experience in Oiko Credit, what are some of those partnerships and collaborations that you think could also help drive more empowerment, education, and transformation when it comes to financial inclusion for women? Do you have any idea
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Esther. And
of this collaboration or in microcredits?
yeah, thank you, Esther. Sharon alluded to some of the challenges that are experienced, or the barriers that are experienced, and these are, the capacity of women, education, collateral, and therefore any collaborations that are successful in Africa need to be addressing those barriers and those challenges. And there are various initiatives across the region that aim to do that. Some aim to address only one challenge, and some aim to address multiple challenges. So the effort and the recognition that there is a need in Africa is very much there. There are collaborations such as guarantees, and Esther also mentioned the work of AGF and the work of ACCION. So Oiko Credit collaborates with these kinds of institutions so that we can be able to de-risk some of the transactions that we make across the region. And of course, they are not specific to women, but a very good initiative that I have seen, for example, through AFAWA, is that they provide 75% guarantee to women entrepreneurs who want to access loans. And what this does is that it supports them to eliminate the barrier of collateral. Because women generally don't own land, they don't have access to huge capital that can allow them to have access to assets. And so such a collaboration and a partnership is very important in allowing the woman entrepreneur to be able to access finance. And I love the criteria for this particular guarantee by AFAWA through AGF, where if we look at four distinct criteria. So one, is it a woman-led enterprise? Does it have, or is it a woman-owned enterprise? Do they have a larger percentage of women in their employment or in their staff? Is the product and service that they are providing targeted towards women? So if an enterprise meets any of these two criteria, then they can be able to access a guarantee. And I find that to be a very fantastic collaboration that addresses the issue of collateral. Now, when it comes to capacity building, there are also several organizations in the region that provide education and mentorship to women to allow them to be able to really scale their businesses, to be able to run their business in a professional manner. Because we all know that, a lot of women in Africa are running small businesses. And the reason is because, one, they don't have access to finance, but they also have so many other responsibilities that they have to take care of. They have to run their homes. They have to take care of their children. So in terms of the time that they have left, they have to run small businesses, and it's very difficult for them to be able to scale these businesses and create employment and have the positive impact that they can have. So initiatives for capacity building, EcoCredit is very big on this. We work with institutions who are working with women and deliver capacity building interventions for financial literacy to help them understand what they need to do, how they need to keep their stocks, how they need to save, what risk management interventions they can take, such as insurance, to ensure that they have a cushion for their business. We do have also partners around the continent, such as FINEL, which is in Cote d'Ivoire, that focuses specifically on lending to women. We work closely with the Kenya Women Microfinance Bank in Kenya that is very specific towards women. So there's lots of examples of collaboration that I can cite, both the ones that we work with and even others that are out there in terms of partnerships where women can be able to access opportunities for growth and for economic empowerment.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting, and it's very good to note that there are collaborations that we can actually, or that are ongoing, that are also helping to drive financial inclusion. I'll quickly. I'd wanted to ask you this one before you leave. So I'd wanted to say, talked about education. You were talking about capacity building. Now, in the area of capacity building, how do we deepen financial literacy, amongst women? We cannot be talking about financial inclusion, transforming life, without digital literacy. We are all agreed that innovation and technology is a very good tool to drive financial inclusion among women. And if we're going to transform their lives, we all know today that digital literacy is something we really need to work on, and that talks about the education and empowerment and capacity building. So Carol, I'd like you to speak to how can we deepen digital literacy. I know it's ongoing, but like I said earlier, it's something we should do more of, and it should be better than what it is today. I'll give you an example in Nigeria. I remember in 2023 in Nigeria when there was a naira redesign, our currency was redesigned, and the Central Bank of Nigeria decided to take out the old currency and limit the volume of cash in the economy. And at that time, it was like the economy was going to crash. A lot of people who were not you know digitally savvy, who were not digital literate, they 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 did find it funny. It wasn't something they could cope with, and so that pushed everybody. And I'm sure that's what is making up for the numbers or the growth in financial inclusion that we are recording in Nigeria today. It pushed everybody into using devices, using into money transfers. Ordinarily people will tell you, "Oh, I'm not going to take money transfers for this transaction. I'm not going to take money transfers for this transaction." And but I want cash. But it threw us into a cashless economy, and everybody, whatever age, whatever category, whatever class you think you are in the economy at that time, you had no choice. So how do you think? Because and I must also say that a lot of families were also thrown into a mess because some people didn't even have a bank account at that time. So how do you think we can deepen financial literacy just to help improve financial inclusion in our economy? Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. It's amazing that in times of crisis, people become very resilient and they learn new things faster than in a normal during normal times. So I remember as well in Kenya during the COVID season, we migrated to a digital economy. Thankfully, already the M-Pesa platform was there; it was in use. The mechanism and technology was known. But because cash was seen as a way to transmit COVID because of, touching it and passing it around, everybody moved to M-Pesa. So a crisis does support a movement of a whole society into something new and aids them in developing in that area. But aside from that, I think there are some barriers that Esther alluded to, Sharon alluded to, in terms of even access. So, does everybody in Africa have access to a phone? Does everybody in Africa have access to a smartphone? Because that is what determines the technological development that can be used. I think that there has been great strides, even in rural areas, at least where people don't have smartphones, they definitely would have access to a regular phone, or even if it is at the family level, there is some access. So that is helpful. So because of that availability, it's then easier for financial institutions or for development institutions to design financial literacy programs that are online. And I have seen some of these. Thankfully, a lot of these applications are very easy to use. So, it's easy to teach even an old grandmother how to use it, how to move to the next page to be able to see information that has been provided. But I believe there is a huge opportunity for the development of financial literacy programs online that can be offered, that can be downloaded on a smartphone, or that can be accessed through a USSD, so that a woman in any part of this continent can easily go to her phone and be able to answer a question that she's dealing with right there and then. How do I manage my stocks, for example? That kind of information should be readily available. And I hope that we can see more and more of this kind of applications and softwares being developed and made accessible to women across the region. I also am a high believer in touch and tech. So I see a very crucial role in technological development, but I also see that there is still a need in financial inclusion for there to be a touch aspect where people see each other, where people talk to each other. And this is very much because of our culture, which Sharon talked about. We've grown up in communities, in families. We have a very high affinity for friendships and social networks. And therefore, it's difficult, I think, to completely eliminate that touch aspect. And so anyone who wants to go into development of technological financial literacy software, for example, I think there's a need for that awareness to remain and to ensure that both touch and tech are applied effectively in improving the capacity and knowledge of women.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you. That was succinct. Okay, so Sharon, I'll come to you. How do you think policies and regulation can help, improve financial inclusion in Africa? Today, I'll use Nigeria as an example. I know that there's this financial inclusion document that was launched, I think, in 2022 in Nigeria, just to help us drive financial inclusion. And I heard Professor Lainka David West also, alluding to the orphan program that was also released or launched in Nigeria. But I'm also a believer that we need to do more of this. It has to be driven. Let me put it this way: it has to be driven from the top. The tone has to be sent from the top. So for policymakers, how do you think policy and regulation? How do you think policy and regulation can also help improve financial inclusion, especially for women empowerment and in transforming women's lives in Africa?
Yeah, thank you, Esther, and thank you, Caroline. That was really a good summary on digital literacy and what impediment it is to financial inclusion. And I mean, we don't financial ecosystem does not operate in what is it in a vacuum. We operate in an environment where there is regulation, and regulation and policies do play a key role in either advancing or being a barrier to financial inclusion. And I'll give you an example. Asali, we work in catalyzing capital flows to agricultural SMEs, but not only agricultural SMEs, but also high impact agricultural SMEs. And these, some of the impact areas that we are very keen on is gender and youth inclusion. And in our work, I mean, we work across 5 countries. We have a classic example of what policy can do when governments are actively involved and are driving the agenda in partnership with private sector. So in Tanzania, what happened is central bank introduced a policy together with the Ministry of Agriculture, where there's a dedicated line of credit to banks that they can draw on for strictly on lending to agriculture, and the cost of that credit is capped. So, the credit that banks lend to agricultural SMEs, for example, cannot exceed 10%. And within that as well, that portfolio does not count towards does not affect the capital adequacy ratio. So this has really pushed numbers in Tanzania in capital flows to agriculture, right? So that is a brilliant example of what policy and regulations can do to drive financial inclusion. So when it comes to gender, I mean, we can also have similar targeted policies towards gender. Which is in complementary with what other institutions like the development finance organizations are doing, like the guarantees that Caroline talked about earlier, and also the products that we are offering, like ACCION. So, for example, for us, what we do, if an agri SME is high impact and meeting the gender, we use the 2X criteria and meeting the 2X criteria, then of course there is more leverage when it comes to lending to that SME. So just to answer your question, policies, governments, or there's need for a very conducive, enabling environment, not just conducive, but also pointed and targeted policies that really support lending to women and all the other things that are supportive. For example, when you look at the capacity building programs that are there are so many capacity building also targeted at women, which is really good. They, in most cases, not all of them are gender sensitive, for example. And it's just a simple one. As an example, you have sessions online in the morning. This is a school, a school run. You have to prepare your kids to go to school. So of course, the attendance rates for women will be lower compared to that of men, just because of the competing priorities of women. So coming back to the policy, the targeted policies targeting at unlocking capital flows to women individuals, be it for consumption, access to finance for consumption, or for women SMEs, is I would call it's no brainer. And what we like saying in my organization is that lending to women is not only it's good. It's not only a good thing to do, but it's a smart thing to do, because I mean, according to one of our partners' value for women, lending or equal opportunities for women in the workplace, access to finance can unlock up to 28 trillion US dollars into the economies. So why wouldn't governments then say, this percentage of group of people, if we actively support lending and inclusion to this segment, then there is also an economic gain for the governments or for the countries. So again, policies need to be put in place that are targeted, not just blanket policies, and targeted on gender as well. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Carol. I want to take something home from there. I would like to rephrase, that slogan from your organization. I would say not just lending to women is a smart thing, but investing in women is a smart thing that we all need to do. And so, finally, for me, I'll come to you, Sharon. I'd like to find out you have any. Oh, sorry, Carol. I mean, I'd like to any final closing remarks. Give us a point. So financial inclusion your final closing remarks, your final, points on financial inclusion for women in Africa, how it's going to transform lives, and just like I alluded to what Sharon just said, that investing in women is a smart thing to do. So coming from, we have spoken about the current landscape, the barriers, how innovation and technology could help. And then we have also touched base on empowerment, education, financial literacy, for women, access to banking and banking and services. And we have also, looked at, policy and regulation, how they impact financial inclusion for women in Africa and how it could also empower women. So I'm coming back to you, Carol. How do you want to sum up this discussion? So what are the take homes that you want us to take home on this webinar? And tomorrow we'll hold it and say, oh, this was what Carol mentioned last. And that is what we are, it's I want to place it like a postcard somewhere, that these are the touch points for Carol on this webinar today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe what I can say, and I can start by touching a little bit on some of the barriers, which was the question that Sharon just answered, or rather policy. There needs to be, and this will go into answering your question, Esther, there needs to be such a concerted effort around gender empowerment, women empowerment, economic empowerment for women. We've talked about so many things, as you have said, and therefore there isn't one silver bullet that is going to resolve this challenge. And I think we also need to be aware that everything that we do today matters, and it counts, and it makes a difference for the future generations, for our daughters and our nieces that are coming after us. What kind of world are we going to leave for them? So for me, that's a major thing that I think about, and a major take home that I have, that each and every one of us should not give up. The little things that we do every single day make a difference, and they are going to matter for the next generation. We are going to have a generation of women and girls who are empowered, who have equal opportunities, who can be able to become anything that they want to be. And it is us to make the effort now to make sure that we can secure their future. So also in addition to that, some other things that I think policy needs to take care of, for example, is the rights and access to property. So women right now in many African countries are not able to inherit all land or assets that are acquired as a family or a clan are passed on to the men. And this is something that policy needs to address, to be able to give women the opportunity that they can own property, they can be able to access credit. Another thing that I think needs to be addressed is, and it could be social, it could also be policy related, is a mindset that we have. Women's businesses are really, really small. If you look at the larger scheme of things across the region, we are involved in trading, we are involved in, really small businesses. How can we change our mindset and understand that we too can become huge, large SMEs, large corporates? What is it that we need to break the barrier, to break that ceiling and compete with men at that level, create employment, and really positively contribute to the economy without having to be very small? Because if right now 70% of women in the region are engaged in small businesses, supposing we could move even 10% of those women to really large scale and allow them to provide employment, I think that would be a fantastic milestone for us to consider. Yeah. But in summary, let's not give up. Let's do the little that we can each and every day and create a better world for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. We live one day at a time. And we should always remember that every action we take today has a major impact on the generation coming behind us. And policies has to be, made in such a way that it's going to leave a positive impact. And women empowerment, I mean, the sizes of women's businesses needs to improve greatly so that the impact would be so evident and visible even when, because today I understand your point. Today the impacts we make are not showing so much because it looks because of the sizes of the businesses that the women run. But when we have women, even if it's a 10% of the women in the economy with, a big business like the MSMEs and the, big SMEs that we have in the continent today, it's going to really show the impact of, whatever policy, whatever initiative for on financial inclusion that is made on women would be very visible. Thank you very much for that closing remarks, Carol. So Sharon, I come back to you. So what should I put on a postcard for today's webinar for Sharon? Just give us a recap of all that we have discussed. And today, our audience are eager to listen, they want to hear. So this was what I took away from from the discussion with Sharon today on International Women's Day webinar.
Okay, so I think I'll go back to how I started. I want to challenge and call to action to financial institutions. And here I'm speaking to commercial banks that have deep pockets, for example. Like, what does financial inclusion mean to you? And what does gender inclusion mean to you, right? Because I think some of the gaps that we are seeing is because of the misunderstanding of what really gender inclusion or gender lens investing is all about. So what I'm saying is all these barriers are there, but they are not set on stone. We can address them when they are enabling when there's an enabling environment through good policies. Then it's on us as practitioners in the financial services sector on the supply side to say, okay, what can we do to unlock the financing to women, given all the other things that we've said that are current barriers, because those barriers can be mitigated against. And also having a really gendered lens when you're designing your products. Okay, so, and I mean truly looking at what issues in your market that women are dealing with when it comes to access to finance. Because what we've seen in the recent past is renaming an existing product to be a gender product
Yeah.
or a women product. So I am challenging us to really truly look at what is this that you're not seeing a lot of women in your bank, for example? What is it that you're not seeing a lot of women in your credit institution? Why are we not seeing enough women receiving investment, for example? And I mean, there's enough literature to back the fact that, there's a business case for investing in women, be it through debt or equity. So why are we not unlocking this, right? So I'm calling on you guys to, join me in really addressing this gap. What can we do together? Right from, how can we partner, private sector, development sector, public sector. I know a lot of work is being done by, development sector on education. So how do you use that education, especially I'm talking now to commercial banks or financial institutions, as a de-risking mechanism as well? So you're saying these women have been trained on this, so they are likely to be less risky, for example. So we have to be innovative in how we look at investing in women. And all of us, we know a woman in our lives. So it's not like women enterprises or speaking about women, it's a being that we don't know, right? Because it's been made out to be so specialized that when you hear, investing in women or women, women targeted products, then it's then presented like it's competing with other priorities, which it shouldn't. And just to close, and I will leave you with one statistic, and I think it's food for thought. It's one of our partners as well, indicate the data collected over 2 decades, looking at over 15 research articles, indicate that for gender diverse enterprises, they are 25%, not least 25% more likely than their peers to have above average profitability, right? So even at the SME level, at the business level, if you're gender diverse, then it actually impacts on your bottom line. So let that sink in. As an organization, as a business,
Mm-hmm.
the more gender diverse you are, the higher profits you're going to make. And this is based on data. So I will leave you at that. Over to you, Esther.
Thank you very much, Sharon, for those parting words. Thank you very much. That was so encouraging. And the call to action, I'm sure the financial institutions, the commercial banks, whatever institution that is listening to us today, I'm sure they're taking it home and they're going to work on it, and it's going to, come back with a very good result at the end of the day. So I'd like to draw the curtain on this panel session. Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much, Sharon. It's been quite an engaging discourse. It's been an intelligent discussion. I have learned quite a lot, and I'm sure the audience have also learned. And I'm sure it's not just for today, like Carol mentioned, it's for tomorrow. These discussions will continue until we have reached our goal, even as financial inclusion experts. And this is coming from me and the team in Financial Inclusion Africa, saying Happy International Women's Day. Together, we would achieve, so much in financial inclusion for women. Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, Carol. Okay, so our audience, it's been a very great session. We would take a very short break, say like a very short break while we the next. I would encourage you to sit back and wait for the next panel session where we'll be discussing innovations and innovations in fintech and digital solutions that as regards that it relates to financial inclusion, transforming the lives of women and empowering women. Sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
Inclusion Africa. Today we gather under the theme Inspire Inclusion, empowering women, transforming lives through financial inclusion for a sustainable Africa. The theme encapsulates our shared commitment to not only empower women, but also inspire a culture of inclusivity that drives positive change across the continent. International Women's Day is not just a day of celebration, it is a day of reflection, action, and commitment towards gender equality and women's empowerment. It is a day to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of women across the globe and to renew our pledge to create a world where every woman has the opportunity to thrive, contribute, and lead. In Africa, women have always been the backbone of communities, economies, and families. Yet they continue to face numerous challenges, particularly when it comes to accessing financial services and resources. Despite their crucial roles, women are often marginalized and excluded from the formal financial system, which limits their ability to unleash their full potential and contribute meaningfully to economic growth and development. Financial inclusion is not just about providing access to financial services. It is about empowering individuals, families, and communities to build better lives and secure brighter futures. It is about ensuring that no one is left behind, regardless of gender, socioeconomic status, or geographic location. And at the heart of financial inclusion lies the empowerment of women. When women are financially included, the entire community benefits. Studies have shown that when women have control over financial resources, they invest in their families, health, education, and well-being, leading to improved outcomes for future generations. By empowering women economically, we not only uplift them, but also create a ripple effect of positive change that cascades throughout society. We must listen to the voices of women themselves. We must involve them in the decision-making process that affects their lives and amplify their stories and experiences and empower them to be agents of change in their communities. Because ultimately, true empowerment comes from within, and it is our collective responsibility to support and uplift each other along the journey. However, achieving meaningful financial inclusion for women requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders, from governments, financial institutions, development organizations, and the private sector. It requires innovative solutions, policies, and partnerships that address the unique needs and challenges faced by women, particularly those in underserved and marginalized communities. At the Lagos Business School, we are committed to driving this agenda forward. Through our Sustainable and Inclusive Digital Financial Services Initiative, we strive to create an enabling environment where women have equal opportunities to access and benefit from financial services. We work closely with government agencies, local communities, financial institutions, and policymakers to design tailored solutions that cater to the diverse needs of women across Nigeria. According to the findings of AFINA's Access to Finance 2023 survey, formal financial inclusion in Nigeria increased from 56% in 2020 to 64% in 2023. This growth was driven by a slight rise in the banked population and significant progress in non-banked formal adoption. A key factor contributing to this success is the impact of the Framework for Advancing Women's Financial Inclusion in Nigeria, FORFIN, an initiative championed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to address women's financial inclusion. FORFIN strategically utilized agent networks for women's financial inclusion, predominantly employing women agents. These agents provided women with access to a broader array of financial services and products, including microloans, daily savings, microinsurance options. This illustrates how the implementation of an effective operational framework has the potential to transform how women manage their finances, access credit, and engage in economic activity, thereby creating opportunities for empowerment and economic independence. According to Foresight Africa 2024, Africa is currently at the forefront globally in terms of digital financial inclusion. But our work is far from over. We must continue to advocate for policies that promote gender equality, dismantle discriminatory barriers, and create pathways for women to thrive in the formal economy. As we celebrate International Women's Day today and embrace the theme of Inspire Inclusion, let us renew our dedication to envisioning a more inclusive, fair, and sustainable Africa, ensuring that we are deliberate about engaging women by recognizing their distinct requirements and designate solutions that empower, catalyze, and transform and pave the way for a future where every woman can flourish and achieve success. Together, we can inspire a culture of inclusion that transcends borders and transforms societies for the betterment of Africa. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you great deliberations today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to International Women's Day Celebration 2024, hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. That short video we just watched is a session from our keynote speaker, Professor Olayinka David West. And I am sure we all, listened, and we really got a glimpse of what financial inclusion should be, the impact financial inclusion should be making in all our, various continents today. And so it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to the second panel session where we would be discussing, having intelligent discourse, around our theme for today, which is empowering women, transforming lives, financial inclusion for a sustainable Africa. And like we all know, that we cannot empower women, we cannot also, transform lives and have financial inclusion for a sustainable Africa without looking at the innovations and digital solutions that we have all alluded to that could also help us drive, this goal in Africa today. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my panelists for this session. The first person I will be introducing is Charity Chitalu Uwana. Charity Chitalu Uwana is the managing director, Italy's Consultancy Services. Charity is a digital financial service last mile expert and business change leader with over 2 decades of experience in payments, digital transformation, financial inclusion, change and project management. Charity is a managing director, like I said, of Italy's Consultancy Services, a firm that is focused on digital financial services, project management consultancy, market research, and capacity building in supporting corporates, cooperating organizations, and SMEs. Charity has held several senior management roles in financial industry, including being the founder, CEO of a fintech digital paygo, head of strategy and innovation, digital transformation lead, head of change management and project, and IT service delivery lead. Charity holds a master's degree in business administration, diploma in computer science and business management. She was named Zambia's 2022 FinTech Heroes and one of the top 60 African women fintech experts in 2020 by africanshapers.com. Charity, welcome to our webinar today, International Women's Day webinar hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. Welcome. My second panelist is Rukayat Bello. Rukayat Bello is a founder and CEO of Regstar. She has BSc degree from Kwara State University, where she graduated as one of the best and respected students in the school. She's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Rukayat has over 6 years of experience in banking, auditing, and finance. She's very passionate about financial inclusion and keen in growing micro businesses. She's an alumni of Future Females Business Schools, Seed Stars, Village Capital, and many others. She's globally recognized by reputable institutions, including IFC and World Bank, for her efforts in driving financial inclusion in Africa. She has attended several training sessions in sales and marketing, business development, and strategy implementation. She has also exceptional skills in credit analysis, front end engineering, and digital marketing. A bit about what Regstar does, where Rukayat is the founder. Rukayat, the Regstar is an inclusive digital platform that offers quick and easy access to financial services for unbanked individuals and micro business in rural and peri-urban communities across Africa. The platform provides instant underwriting and loan disbursement, even to those without a borrowing history. Users can also open accounts, save money, and generate financial records with the help of trained community agents. And so Regstar provides quick and paperless process for small business owners to obtain a bank account within minutes. Savings can be easily deposited through verified agents. The microloan offering allows immediate purchases, prepaid school fees, and business growth. The platform also assists with financial record generation and serves low income earners with microcredits for mortgages, insurance, health expenses, and pensions. Regstar is a network of verified agents that facilitates access to these services in rural and semi urban areas. Regstar focuses Red Star's focus is on underserved micro business owners with daily revenue of $10 to $300. It was launched, Red Star launched an MVP in August 2022, introducing digital wallets, savings deposits, loan management, and more. And the company has onboarded over 5,000 micro business owners. Today, Red Star has 140 agents, and Red Star has generated over $160 in revenue. What a beautiful achievement. My audience, I can assure you this is going to be an interesting discussion, reading out the profile of our panelists, and you can be sure that the panelists today will do a very good work to, our panel discussion, innovations in fintech and digital solution as it relates to, financial inclusion, as it relates to transforming the lives of women, as it relates to empowering women. And quickly, I'd like to come to you, you know, uh, I'd like to come to you, Charity, on this question. I would like to know, in what ways, do you think women have contributed to the advancement and innovations in fintech over the past years? How do you think women have impacted fintech in the past few years that you have been around? Charity, you may need to unmute. We cannot hear you. Hello, Charity. We can't hear you. Okay, so Rukat, let me come to you with that question since I'm sure you have a very good answer to that question. You use yourself as an example, how the impact that women have made in fintech today. You are one of the women that have made some level of impact, appreciable impact, and with the number of agents you have, with the number of lives that you have impacted. So can you share with us some of the impacts that you see women making in fintech today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry you are going to be hearing some background noises, and this is because our office is located in the market, so you
Oh,
can
we
hear the
understand it's business. That alludes to the fact that you're doing fintech in the urban, rural, and semi-urban, environment. That's perfect. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for your understanding. So, to answer your question, I think I'm going to be using myself and some of the women that I know in the industry as an example. First and foremost, I want to say a very big thank you for the organizers of this program for bringing me in. I appreciate this and do not take it for granted. And talking about what women have done, in the financial space, it's underestimated, to be candid with you. Women are actually doing extravagant, as in they are doing excellently well, making sure that financial inclusion is actually everywhere. So I'm going to be using myself as an example, and this is because of the story of my mother. She inspired me to start to register actually, because she was frustrated. She was actually looking for loans, to start all over, but she could not get the loans because her business was not, you know, registered, no bank account, nothing of such. So they considered her as somebody who is geographically disadvantaged, somebody who can't have credit history. So because of that, they considered her as high risk, a loan. So she was not able to get that loan. So because of my frustrating experience, I decided to say, oh, I need to liberate my mom, and some of our friends, and other people in Africa so that they can be financially stable. So talking about what register or what myself have done, it's underestimated. Like I said earlier, to be candid with you, I was in the market yesterday. I'm also going to the market now. Of course my business can survive without me, but because we are still growing, I need to be in the market. I need to see some customers. I need to see what the agents, are actually doing in the market. I need to see that our products are actually targeting the right people. So therefore, you see us always in the market, always, seeing the right people. At times when we say we are targeting, we are doing financial inclusion, some people misplace it and say probably we are serving the people who are actually in the middle class. But like I tell people, no, we are serving those people who actually need, the service. Therefore, what register and what other people in the industry have done, talking about financial inclusion and empowering women cannot be over emphasized. Like I will talk about, the founder of economy. She's also doing financial inclusion and she's doing it very well. Talking about Odu Eweni in the industry. So I would say Piggy Bank or Piggy Vest. They are
Best,
one of
yeah.
the first bank, talking about savings platforms in Nigeria, and they're actually doing it very well. So talking about Ola Brown also, Maya Morgans, she included Sholakpe, of Harvest. These people are actually doing extremely well, and these are the celebrity in the industry that we are actually looking up to. So if they can do it, definitely somebody like us can do more. So they've done a lot more work, bringing in people to see that they are financially stable, not just opening accounts. They make sure that they are giving out, financial services and not financial services. And if this notion that goes that if you empower a woman or women,
Yeah.
you're actually empowering, the family. And I can
Yeah.
tell you, even in register, because we also do financial inclusion, we prioritize women the most. Over 98% of our customers, they are women. And even if you want to do anything that has to do with financial services, you see that women are always the one, coming for loan, coming for this, coming for that, because they want to make sure that their families are okay. When my mom actually faced, a lot of challenges, I told my mom that I'm not going back to school again because we will be actually suffering as at that moment. But because my mom is actually an industrious woman, a very vibrant woman, she said, no, I will give it all it takes for you to go back to school. She just needed that little push for her to be stable, but she couldn't. But I can tell you that I'm able to liberate my mom and other micro businesses in the whole of Nigeria, and we are currently expanding to other African countries. Therefore, what we've done in register and what other people that have mentioned they've done cannot be overemphasized. Then I'm basically saying thank you, and we need a lot of women to actually come forward, show their confidence, be passionate that they can do this, and thank you for this. Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Interesting.
I love your expression. I love your expression, Rukayat, and it's quite amazing how a
Yeah.
challenge has led you even into creating an opportunity and also improving lives. That's what financial inclusion is all about. Financial inclusion is about seeing the need in the people, in women, in the less included, and looking for an opportunity to also include them. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I'll come back to you now, Charity. I don't know if your audio is okay now. Can I go ahead, Charity? Is your audio fine? Just say hello to me. Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Charity. So, Charity, quickly, I'd like you to speak on, some of the challenges that women face in the fintech industry. What are some of these challenges you have observed in the past years that you have been around in the industry, and what are the opportunities that you think organizations can provide to help women overcome challenge, women like Rukayat, who
Hmm.
wants to serve people, who wants to use digital innovation, who wants to transform the lives of women digitally. What are some of the challenges you think they encounter, and what are the possible ways you think either the government or the community or the economy or other service providers can help them, overcome this challenge? Thank you.
Thank you. And like you rightly said, I've been in the industry for quite a bit, for over 2 decades. And I'll speak about the challenges in terms of what has affected me over the years as a woman in technology. So I started my career at a young age, and back then it was not prominent to have people mentor you. So there was a lack of mentorship, and we didn't have a lot of networking opportunities. And so the issue about that challenge was that support for career development was mainly given to men in their circles. And so, as a young girl who's just starting the career, wanting to progress, if you are found in those circles, sometimes it was even misunderstood. And so, but I've seen over the years there's been quite a bit of progress made in the area to try and provide mentorship, coaching, network opportunities for women in technology. For example, back home here in Zambia, I'm based in Zambia. Uh, a bank, Standard Chartered Bank, has a program that supports women in tech. And because they've made a deliberate effort to come up with such initiatives to coach, mentor young ones who are trying to drive innovative products, others also in the country have followed suit. So we have a number of initiatives in the industry like WEAKI, who are undertaking similar initiatives to support young women in terms of mentorship, coaching, and providing a platform to network. We also have individuals that are really passionate about supporting young girls in technology. There's a colleague of mine, I believe she's in this forum, Yazakara, who is head of digital innovation at Stanbic Zambia. She's very passionate and creates opportunities informally and formally to just mentor women in technology. So, in terms of challenge, that lack of mentorship, networking opportunities is a challenge that I've seen over the years I've been in this industry. The other challenge that I would talk about is work life balance. So, by nature, the field requires a lot of effort in terms of work hours. Solving a problem can happen at any particular time. But as a woman, we have so many demands on our lives. We mothers, wives, aunties, nieces. And in many African cultures, there is a certain expectation, right? That if you are a woman, there's certain things they expect you to do. For example, if the family has a bereavement, it's the women that you will see they have to prepare all the food. You see, they have to nurse the ones that are ill. They have to 90% of the time look after the child. So, such expectation creates a challenge for women in technology to strike that balance. And for me, a work life balance in definition really is just managing the different demands efficiently whilst remaining sane. And so when you look at women in technology, striking that balance is really a challenge because they want to thrive both at home but also at the office. And they have to work long hours because it's expected sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes. But then how do they really strike the balance? So these for me have been the two challenges that I have struck out. Of course, you have some men that would want to put you down in teams, but that's rare. The biggest challenge I see is really the lack of opportunities and sometimes self, right? Self disbelief. You know, where self doubt by us ourselves as women presents a challenge for a woman to pick up certain opportunities that are there or pick up certain roles because they believe they can't compete effectively with women. So I would talk about these as really the main challenges I've seen over the years. Of course, there's a lot of work that have gone into making the landscape different, but it's work in progress. And we appreciate the effort of the many, many women who are coming out as role models, who are advocating for safe environments, work environments, certain policies that deliberately supports career development of women in the fintech space? I would pick that now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was so succinct. And I'm going to recap the three that you mentioned: mentorship, work life balance, self doubt. And you mentioned the last one, lack of opportunity, which I think it goes beyond. It goes beyond women in fintech. Every career today that you see a woman thriving will tell you that before today, this the generation of people we have in career today, they are quite they are lucky, because
Yeah.
most of these people like you have gone ahead, and you have done the work for them, and so you are available to also mentor them and to also teach them how to maintain a work-life balance, and to also convince, like what you just, listen to Rukayat's story. It's so encouraging and so impacting that any other young woman who wants to go into fintech will say, oh, if Rukayat can do it, then I can also do it. So there's no opportunity for self-doubt. Thank you very much for your impact in the industry. And that would also, take me back to another question for you, looking at the technological trends that we have in Africa today. So what emerging technologies do you think will have the most significant impact on fintech sector in the coming years? But the number of years you have spent in the industry, what are the trends that you see that would make impact in the fintech industry, and how can women contribute to these advancements?
So I will talk about two that I feel are very impactful. And this is purely because of my passion towards financial inclusion. And financial inclusion, when we talk about financial inclusion, it's not just for the women that live in towns, but in the
Hmm.
rural areas.
Yeah.
So the technological trends, already there are some fintechs that are having solutions that are solving for KYC, would be the AI related to data capturing, but the AI also that is related to how you service these customers, how you, if they're asking for a loan, the due diligence around it, the credit scoring. So using the technology that predict the behavior of the women, especially in these communities, for me will go a long way.
Mm.
There is a lot of refinement still happening, but I believe that technology fully matured for an African setup, a rural setup in Africa, we will improve tremendously the impact that anybody can have on financial inclusion in terms of impact on society. Big data as well.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that many women, if you speak to them, I do that a lot in my work, they would tell you they're not able to get access to finance because there's very little data that these organizations have. When you talk to organization, they will tell you, well, we have so much manual data. We don't even know how to store that. We don't even know how to manage it. So the technologies around how we are managing data, how we're storing data, where we're even storing data, how efficient, how accessible that is, for me, will be a huge contributor to the successes that we make in this industry. And a number of new innovations can be layered on those technologies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Big data, where we store the data. Those are things, and the trends. And AI, yes, AI is a trend that we need to look out for. The impact of AI in fintech. So it's going beyond. Okay, so I just have the data. We also need to use AI to drive, this data. Thank you very much. So Rukayat, I'll come to you. I'll come to you, and on what you think we can do. How can organizations foster a culture of innovation? You have an organization today, and I'd like you to relate it to the way you are improving on the culture of innovation and ensuring inclusivity in the development of your digital solution in the financial sector? I know you have quite a number of agents, and like we all know, is either you grow, is either you innovate, or you die. And so, as an organization, if how do you think we can foster innovation that will be inclusive? Talking about inclusivity, you have spoken about, oh, most of your clients, most of your customers, most of the people you serve are 98% of women. But in the organization itself, how innovative can an organization be? How can we foster innovation, inclusivity in our organization, even as we serve people in our community, even as we look at how to make impact in financial inclusion?
Thank you for this question. And again, I'm going to be using myself and my company as an example. To be candid with you, like I mentioned, the people we are targeting are people with no smartphones, in fact, no phones at all. And you see a lot of people saying they are doing financial inclusion, that the simplest form of financial inclusion that you will see everywhere is probably USSD. How about those who don't have phones at all, not even smartphones? We still have a lot of people, about 40% of them, 40% of African populations don't have phones at all. So because they don't have phones, what are we going to do about them? Are we not going to include them financially? Are we say because we want to use phone number for phone validation or whatever, we are not going to include them? And this is what register is actually solving. At times when we talk about financial inclusion, people still look at it and say probably we are targeting the middle class or the SMEs. But I say no. Like, based on the experiences we've gathered so far, ever since we've started, we notice that a lot of the people we are targeting do not have phones, not even smartphones. And at times, whenever you want to validate probably payment, savings, collection, or account number or anything, because we are a paperless company, we do this through, what is it called, phone validation. Then we realize that even those people that have phone they still tell you that, oh, I misplaced my phone yesterday, I can't retrieve it now because the stress is too much because of this, because of that. Therefore they have to change their unique identity, which is their phone number. You understand? So as a young girl who is trying to, be innovative and be able to solve this financial inclusion problem, we decided to do something which I've never seen, you know, in Nigeria or in Africa. Now, how do we validate, or how do we make sure that all these people who complain about I misplaced my phone or they don't have phone at all, how can we include them financially? Because of that, we decided to deploy two major technologies, which are the facial recognition and the thumb printing. You will all agree with me that the thumb printing that I'm talking about is probably going to be in form of a device that you are seeing, but this is actually in a phone. That if you don't have a phone number, you don't have anything, we can still include you financially, provided you have a fingerprint. If you don't have all of these things, we can still include you financially, provided you have a facial recognition. So those are the things we are trying to do, to say even if we go inside the ground, that they are not making use of the internet, we can still include people financially, provided they have facial recognition and their fingerprint. These are the things we are doing. I'm talking about how we can also be innovative. I would say it depends on the market we are targeting. It depends on the feedback we are getting from our customers. It depends on the feedback we are getting from our users, which are the agents, before you can say you want to be innovative. You can't build a solution that people are not going to need. You have to build a solution that's going to resonate with the people you are targeting. I don't know if I'm talking to you. Thank you.
And maybe just adding, I think that is the reason why we are having a lot of governments, even in Zambia, trying to drive digital IDs. You know, the digital identity supports what you're trying to do because the biometric facial recognition gets really supported. And maybe just in adding to how you ensure that you have a culture of innovation, a culture of inclusivity, and that really starts at the top. I'm a firm believer of the ones that says that anything starts and rots with the leadership. Huh? So leadership sets the tone. So innovation, inclusivity should start with the leader themselves. Make sure that they drive that culture. But what I've also seen when you talk about that is setting up BIT teams, where in your organization, like even in many organizations we work with, have the business team and the technology team come together to solve a problem. The salespeople have a different way they'll look at a problem, and the technology people have a different way they'll look at a problem. But when they sit together, we don't have a phone on the ground, for example. How do we solve this? Then they have very progressive conversation and expertise is set up. And truth be told, it's actually work in progress. So it's continuous learning, continuous innovating, putting different ways of doing things, upskilling our staff. That really is what is going to drive to solve real problems that you get on the ground that certain technology might not even solve. I thought I should just add that.
Thank you very much. That was also valuable, and it also speaks to the other parts of the business where you have a more structured environment where you also need to innovate. And Rukayat, I like the perspective. I like the innovation that you have created. But a question, because I'm in Nigeria and I know you are in Nigeria. So how are you managing? I'm just wondering. On top of my head, I'm asking myself. So when you do the identity thing, you create the biometrics, like you said you created. Your charity just talked about uh, digital identity that every country or every nation is trying to build today. And there is a current challenge in Nigeria today. I'd like to have an insight on how you're addressing that. What innovation are you using to address that today in Nigeria? If you do not have a BVN, you do not have a national identity number, you cannot have your phone. Your phone would not be active. Your phone will be deactivated, and your bank account today, you cannot even have a tier one bank account today in Nigeria. So how are you managing that with your solution?
All right, thank you so much. Before the policy, regardless of what our customers are bringing to us, we take whatever thing that's alternative data, to onboard them. At times, when you ask them, do you have BVN? In fact, they will not have. Do you have valid ID card? They don't have. So the thing we do is to say, okay, have you been paying your children's school fees? Have you been paying for NEPA bills? So these are the alternative data we gathered from them, to award them credit score. That way, we can decide to say, based on our technology, can decide to say, oh, this customer falls in tier one, two, or three. But with this new policy, and
Yeah.
because we still want to be relevant, we want to still be in the industry. What we've done is to partner with local governments. Anytime we are going to a new market, we make partnership with local government. That way, if we are meeting a customer who do not have any of these things, we know BVN is going to take a long way. But NIN, we can
Yeah.
easily say, go to so local government to do this, because we've created a partnership with them. They tend to attend to our customers, saying, oh, this people is from register, or are from register rather. They attend to them and they give them the NIN. In just how many minutes they are done, then we onboard them. So if it's partnership, we can't do this alone, and that's why we are thinking of bringing in people who can also help us to include our customers. You see that commercial banks and some microfinance banks, they don't want to deal with these customers because they consider them as stress. But regardless of the share, because if we keep saying no, no, no to them, Nigeria or Africa as a whole will be in abject poverty. And they constitute the largest population in Africa. So what are we going to do? There should be someone who is going to be doing the Lord's work. Like I used to say, we are doing the Lord's work, even though we are making money and making impact or doing, from it is we are still doing the Lord's work. At times you talk to them to say, oh, madam, do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like say we are training primary school, but it's fine. It's what we signed up for. And we know in no time we are going to be known globally for what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ukayat, for that intelligent answer. I like the response, and I like, the dimension. I like the part that you use collaboration and partnership, to
Yeah.
solve the problem. And talking about collaboration and partnership, Charity, that takes me back to you. That takes me back to you. So I remember when we're talking about some of the challenges women face in fintech. Can you share a personal experience or success story that is related to mentorship or partnership? I mean, mentorship or leadership that in the fintech space. Can you give us a personal story? Maybe
I
someone
can.
you have mentored and in the fintech space, and how that is going, what impact that is making in the industry today.
Yeah. So first of all, I will talk about myself. Um, I am a beneficiary of coaching, mentorship. I was coached by my first supervisor who believed that women had that high level of intelligence and the sixth sense could be used to solve societal problems. And she gave me assignments that challenged my thinking. But as she was doing that, she would help me think outside the box, as it were. And I just developed critical thinking ability very young in my career. And what that has done is helped me look at opportunities outside what everybody thinks is a problem. And in the process, because I was helped, sometimes you hear men that say women don't help each other. So
Mm-hmm.
I was I was helped by a woman who made sure that I had the right opportunities, who made sure that I was given assignments that would really challenge my thinking and help me build my skill set. And because of that, I've taken a deliberate effort to mentor, coach young girls in technology. And I do that by sitting down with them formally, looking at what they're doing in career, in their jobs. And there's some that are in business, the others that have got fintech products, others it's informal. So I have, for example, a young girl. You can check out on online. It's called Z Kidpreneur. So this young girl, a very brilliant young girl, who's got a digital academy and teaching life skills to children from the age of 8 to 18, things that are never taught in a classroom. So she's doing financial literacy, public speaking, entrepreneurship, and using technology to drive that agenda. And she's been very progressive, has won 3 awards from central banks in driving financial inclusion. And I know she's also started mentoring others. So it's a chain reaction. That's the beauty with helping women. Because naturally, the same attitude we have to developing communities is the same attitude we have to developing the our social networks, to developing our networks in work, to even just developing the country, as it were. So the mentorship that I received, I passed on to somebody else, I keep passing on to others, and they then pass on to the others. So it's really powerful to have somebody that has walked the path to just show you the ropes
Mm-hmm.
and let your creativity flourish. But then they just guide you. This is how things are done here. So in that way, you can expect the benefit. It's sort of like having a multiplier effect of leadership,
Yeah.
where you keep multiplying the benefit, and that's the value that you get from working together, creating forums, opportunities for coaching and mentorship.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Mentorship is a seed that comes with bountiful harvest. And I like the fact that you said it's a chain reaction. So when you mentor somebody, the person has an opportunity to also mentor another person. So it's something that we can never stop doing. It has to, like I said earlier, you have crossed the hurdle. You have gone ahead of us. And so the generation coming behind, they should be able to benefit from what women are doing. It. And I like the part you said, women are helping women. Yes, it's International Women's Day. And I would also like to put it out there that women really support themselves. Look at Rukaya today, what she's doing. She's supporting women. And we are here today supporting each other just to make sure that every woman, no woman is left out in financial inclusion. And lastly, for me, I'll come to you, Rukayat, and Charity. You can also add your voice to this when Rukayat is done, sharing our own view on it. So what I'm looking at the global perspective now. So how can the fintech industry address global financial inclusion challenges for women in the underrepresented regions, in the rural regions, in regions where, like Charity, I mean, like Rukayat mentioned, in places where they have little or no access to phones, they have little or no access to internet, they don't even have a small phone, a regular phone, not to talk of a smartphone. So how can the fintech industry address, this global financial inclusion challenge in these areas that we are considering today? So Rukayat, you can go first. Okay, Rukayat, are you still okay? Charity, you can address that for us while we wait for Rukayat.
Okay. Okay, so one of the things I would mention, first of all, is when you talk about financial inclusion, you're talking about underserved population, regardless of where they are, which part of the world they are.
Mm,
They're human beings.
it's true.
And human beings have got certain level of requirements, problems to solve. Okay, so when the starting point is solving a problem,
Mm-hmm,
and fintechs come in because then they use technology, which is easier to scale in solving a particular problem for a community. But secondly, fintechs are agile. And the agility there comes in, you deploy a solution, get feedback. If it's not working, change it, redevelop it,
mm,
and put back. That's the agility that comes with the fintechs. That's why they're better placed to solve these challenges. The other element is being customer centric. So, having run a fintech for over 4 years, what was very critical was we were solving not for ourselves, but for our customer.
mm-hmm,
And in the design, even in process redesign, we were looking at the customer side. So permeating that mindset through all the processes helped us have products that were meaningful, products that had impact the community. But obviously, fintechs can only do as much. And as Rega mentioned, partnership becomes key.
mm-hmm,
Fintechs come in with a whole set of strength. They really agile, understand technology, they don't have legacy systems. So it's easy to start, learn fast, get things done. You fail, you move on. But they need to partner with institutions that have been there, that understand the risk management. uh, when you talk about financial inclusion, we really want to include these people in an ecosystem so that they can do financial transactions. But fintech might be limited in how deep they understand risk management. So they will partner with institutions that are good at that.
mm,
Processes, procedures. Yeah, there's some institutions that's what they should be doing, and they're really good at it. But so fintechs will solve, or are best placed to solve these problems by bringing in what they are good at and partnering where they're not good at together in a very you take a collaborative approach. Then we'll be able to solve these problems. And believe me, regardless of where you live. So the women I work with in Zambia, in the rural areas of Zambia, The challenges they're facing are the same challenges that the rural women in Nigeria are facing.
Absolutely.
The same challenges that the rural women in India, in Pakistan are facing. And so when we bring it down to say, let's first understand the problem and
Absolutely.
work towards solving that problem using technology, of course, because it is easy to sell, it's cheaper. You get to see that the value and the benefit that you get globally will really be exponential.
Okay, thank you very much. I like the part where you also mentioned that the products, though fintechs are agile. I like their agility and that they need to deploy products that are customer centric. I would like you to speak to the customer centricity about of fintechs surrounding women. So when you because I'm also an advocate of let's design products. I mean, the product design should come out of what do these customers need, not what the fintech or the company or the organization has to serve. I'm hungry. You ask me, what do you want? Not you don't give me what you don't serve me what you have. And so that's the way I see it from the customer centric perspective. So how do you think the fintech ecosystem can improve more? Because this is where I see a bit of a disconnect, with fintechs. How do you think they can improve more? Because I also, you talked about big data, you talked about AI, and I know that fintechs are organizations that have these tools and they can make use of these tools. They have the data. How can they harness this data? How can they use this data to solve problems around customer centricity? Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things, like I mentioned, as running a fintech, and especially if you are a fintech startup, you have all the great ideas, but the realities on the ground makes you take a step back and look around on who are your best partners. Who should you partner with to make the best use of the technology you want to get? Take, for example, data. Storage of data, where you even store that data, the security around that sometimes can be challenging or overwhelming for a fintech. So get to partner with another fintech that specializes in management of data, for example. Partner with a fintech that focuses on cybersecurity and pick a niche of the ecosystem where you would solve for, where you play to your strength as a fintech. So I'll give an example. We were developing a product for women in agriculture. So the starting point is talk to these women through focus groups. So they tell you their challenge. They would not tell you how they want these challenges solved.
Mhm.
So one of the challenges they mentioned is they have produce, but they travel long distances to sell these products. And because they have to attend to other needs in the family, selling of the produce from the farms is a challenge, was a huge challenge. The second thing is that they would sell, they would get cash. As they walk back, they get robbed. Immediately you're having conversation with the women like that, what comes to mind is, yeah, we'll just give them a digital wallet and get this. But as you talk to them further, you realize that what they have given you is probably a symptom of the real problem. And you then get to understand the real problem by observing. So I know there's some fintechs that would have a one-day focus group and leave the community and think they understand the problem. No. Observe, understand the entire ecosystem, entire society, community, and begin to solve for the real problems, not the challenges or the symptoms, as it were. Because when you solve for the real problem, you will solve it very differently, but you will have fixed the symptom they gave you, but you'll have actually fixed other problems that if you don't, they get to go back, to just being the same way, where you develop solutions and you
Mhm.
think there is really no impact.
Impact.
So customer centricity really entails that you are not being technical about it, where being theoretical. You've got to be practical. And it comes down to just loving people, being passionate about solving uh, problems, the real problems that they're experiencing. And then you will look around to find who can help you solve the problem for the community. For me, that's customer centricity, because it's not just saying, oh, well, what's your problem? Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll tell you my problem, but understand me better and
Mhm.
make my life easier.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's quite spot on. Understand me better. Even if I'm ready to tell, understand me, understand my problem. When you understand me, you know what the problem is, and you know how to help me resolve the problem. And that's what customer centricity is all about. Thank you very much, Charity, and welcome back, Rukayat. Welcome back, Rukayat. I asked a question earlier, but I think Charity has attended to it, but I would not let that slip by. I also want to learn, I mean, hear from your perspective, from what you do, how you think fintech and digital solutions, can, what's the global perspective? How can fintech industry address, the global financial inclusion challenges for women in the underrepresented regions? I know you are dealing with people who are in the underrepresented regions, in the rural regions, but looking at it globally, what do you think? What are the things you think? The what are the global perspective that you think the fintech ecosystem can also attend to in helping to solve the challenges around these underserved communities?
Um, I would say the first one is going to be government policy. You asked a question regarding what are we doing, So
Yeah.
imagine that we are not thinking of partnership. This can kick out from business. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say our government should be able to, work with us, or should be able to bring down the policy so that we can include people financially. Then talking about maybe global perspective, like the World Bank, IFC, I would say we also need their support as a struggling section for the past couple of years before we started raising some money, to push out the brands out. So I would say we need support in every angles, from the government, from the parastatals such as the IFC, from individuals as well. So Charity talked about, oh sorry, I'm hearing my voice.
We
Charity
can
talked
hear you.
about mental health. Mentorship also goes a long way. All of these things are what we need so that we can always, we can put together financial inclusion or reduce what financial exclusion is going to be in Africa. So I would say government policy goes a long ways, yeah, a long way. We don't want them to be strict on their policy. We don't want them to be giving us, I don't want to say something else on here, and also IFC, all these big companies, we need them to support us. We need them to put out grants for women especially, to say, oh, because you are doing this, I don't need you to even pitch, I don't want you to come and pitch your business because you have been doing this, because I've been noticing you. Take this $1 million. Because so
Interesting.
these are the things we need to make sure that we are going to be in business, and to make sure that we are going to be impacting more lives. I don't know if I've answered your question, but that's
Thank you, Rukayat. That was quite an interesting perspective. And I'll cap it at government friendly policies. Charity spoke so much about customer centricity. I also think I agree with you that people like you or people like us who are in the industry, driving financial inclusion are also a customer to the government. And so the government, before making those policies, should also look at the impact of the policy on its customers. Charity, while you were away, Charity spoke about, the need, looking at the need of the client, looking at the challenges, not the symptoms now. You don't solve the symptoms. Somebody is sick, he's going to the hospital, the doctor doesn't solve the symptoms. You go to the cause of the problem. So Charity spoke so much about the cause of the challenge itself. And so you deal with the cause rather than solving, the symptom. And I think that is something we also need to hold on to. And we're also doing a call, a call today to our government agencies that we need government friendly policies that would also help drive innovation and transformation as regards financial inclusion for women. Thank you, Charity. Thank you, Rukayat. At this juncture, I'd like, Charity to give us closing remarks. I want to have a postcard of, Charity, I was a panel on International Women's Day webinar hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa. And this postcard is in honor of Charity's words that were spoken at that webinar. Charity, please give us your closing remarks.
So, I think in closing, everybody should appreciate that financial inclusion should not just be a talk show. Financial inclusion needs to be done for the right motives. When you talk about women and you look at the communities, it's the majority of women who are in poverty. It's the majority of women who are working so hard to improve their communities. And so we want to drive financial inclusion with an objective of lifting up the lives of these women. And so you can only do that by really having the right motive, not just a PR thing, like put up measures, put up policies, put up resources to really have meaningful impact on the ground, not just a talk show in a boardroom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't just do the talking. There should be action. Your action should speak louder than the voice that is being heard. Thank you very much, Charity. Financial inclusion, driving financial inclusion is not just a talk show. It's not just for PR. It's not just a boardroom talk, but it is more of action. Thank you very much. I've got that, and I'm pinning that here. Thank you. So, Rukayat, your parting words, your closing remarks on this webinar.
Okay, like I used to make myself as an example, we've had a lot of people saying, "Oh, register is not going to last for more than 1 year. You are not going." But because of the passion, because of the confidence, I think is actually keeping us going. So my words is going to be that we need more women, because register cannot solve it alone. Even those in business doing financial inclusion cannot solve it alone, because we are actually much. So we need a lot of women to actually speak out, to be passionate about the financial inclusion, so that we can reduce or eradicate poverty and hunger in Africa, or probably so that we can be competing with the likes of America, UK, and so on. So we need a lot of people to actually.
All right, thank you, Rukayat. We can't hear you anymore,
Oh,
but I think you have done a call. You have done a call out there. Register cannot do it alone. We want more women. I want women to come up on board and help us drive financial inclusion. Just like Charity has said, women, we want to support more women. Yes, women support themselves. And this is a call to every woman out there that are in honor of International Women's Day 2024, hosted by Financial Inclusion Africa, where we have had intelligent discussion and panel session on empowering women, transforming lives, financial inclusion for a sustainable Africa. This is a call to action. You can do it. There are mentors out there that would support you. Don't self doubt. Rukayat has shown us an example that she never self doubt and she stepped out and she's making waves. And Charity also mentioned it that women support women. There are so many mentors out there that you can also take a cue from. You can also learn from them. And there are technology, there are innovations. You have to do partnerships, you have to collaborate, and you go out there with the passion and the intention. And your intention is also very important. It's not just about a talk, it is about walking the talk. Thank you very much, Charity. Thank you very much, Rukayat. It's been quite interesting, and I am so passionate about financial inclusion, and I'm so happy to have women around me who are also showing the passion. I'm sure our audience are also, seeing the passion. It's not just about talking about it; it's what we are doing, and I like the fact that each one of you came on board, with their own personal experiences, just to tell other women that we can do this and this is possible. And at this juncture, we'd like to draw the curtain with the talk from our keynote speaker, Professor Olayinka David West, where she has spoken so much about how we can drive financial inclusion and how we can improve on financial inclusion in Africa to have a sustainable, financially included Africa. And at this juncture, I'll say bye for now. Have a happy International Women's Day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.